You know that moment. The one after a really good night. You were laughing together. The energy felt easy. They looked at you in that soft, unguarded way that made you think, maybe we're finally getting somewhere. And then the next day, their texts go flat. Their voice gets thinner. You ask if something's wrong and they say, "No, I'm just tired." But you can feel it. The distance, the shift, the room between you getting colder while they're still, technically, right there. And in your head, it's the same spiral. Why does this keep happening? Did I get too close? Did I say too much? Why do they open up and then disappear? Am I asking for too much? Am I the problem? Here's the truth most people never tell you. They didn't pull away because the connection wasn't real. They pulled away because it was. And that matters. Because you're not failing at love. This is not proof that you chose the wrong person. And no, you are not too much for wanting consistency, presence, and emotional safety. Every person who has ever loved someone avoidant has stood exactly where you're standing. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why avoidant people pull away when things get deeper, why someone like you feels so disorienting to them, and how to stop getting trapped in the cycle of closeness, distance, and confusion. Let's get into it. The mindset reframe. Most couples believe avoidant attachment means someone doesn't feel enough. But the real truth is, avoidant attachment usually means someone feels so much that their nervous system learned to survive by shutting the door before the feeling gets too big. That's the part people miss. Your partner's nervous system is reading you before their mind can catch up. Before they can say, "I care about you." Before they can explain why they suddenly need space. Before they even understand what's happening beneath the surface. So when you bring real closeness, real presence, real emotional honesty, it doesn't just feel good to them. It can also feel dangerous. Not because you're dangerous, because closeness has been wired in their body as pressure, engulfment, expectation, or loss of self. Not because they're heartless. Not because you imagined the connection. Not because you asked for too much, but because love, for them, has often been filtered through protection. And here's what changes everything. When safety leaves a relationship, love doesn't always disappear. Sometimes it goes underground. What looks like disinterest is often overwhelm. What looks like stonewalling is often someone who has been internally flooded for so long that silence feels like the only escape hatch left. Most couples keep trying harder at the level of words, more explaining, more texting, more processing, more, "Can we talk?" But if the emotional tone stays the same, the cycle stays the same. Because this isn't just about communication. It's about attachment. It's about two nervous systems trying to protect themselves while both people quietly long for connection. That's why one person reaches, the other withdraws. One says, "Come closer." The other feels, "If I get too close, I disappear." And when you understand that, you stop taking every withdrawal as a verdict on your worth. You start seeing the cycle for what it is. Predictable, painful, but very real. And once you can see it clearly, you can stop feeding it. 1. You don't feel familiar. Most couples think attraction means compatibility, but with avoidant attachment, familiarity often matters more than chemistry. If someone grew up around emotional inconsistency, distance can feel normal. Being self-contained can feel safe. Needing no one can feel strong. So when they meet someone like you, someone emotionally available, direct, warm, and real, it doesn't just feel refreshing. It can feel unfamiliar in a way their body doesn't know how to relax into. That's why most people in relationships misread the moment. They think, if they're pulling away, I must not matter. But the deeper truth is that you may matter so much that your presence touches needs, fears, and longing they've spent years keeping under control. Somewhere inside, a quiet thought starts moving. If I let this in, I won't be able to stay numb. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. Why do you always do this? We get close and then you vanish. Just tell me if you want this or not. The connecting version sounds like this. I can feel you pulling back. I'm not here to force you, but I do want honesty, because what's happening between us is real. One version makes them defend. The other makes them feel seen. And when you do that, the walls between you start to come down, without either of you having to say a word. 2. Your calm can feel loud to them. Here's the part no one talks about. Most couples assume calm is always received as safe. But for an avoidant person, calm emotional presence can feel louder than conflict. Why? Because conflict is familiar. Deflection is familiar. Joking it away is familiar. But a steady person who stays present without attacking, without collapsing, and without chasing? Man, that can feel almost unnerving. Their nervous system is like a smoke detector set too sensitively. It cannot always tell the difference between honest closeness and danger, so it sounds the alarm anyway. That's why most couples get confused here. They think, I'm being mature, I'm being reasonable. Why are they still shutting down? Because beneath the surface, what they may be hearing is not your tone. It's pressure. It's expectation. It's, I'm about to be needed in a way I don't know how to survive. And inside them, the monologue can sound like this. She's being kind, which means this matters. He's not yelling, which means I have nowhere to hide. If I stay here, I might actually have to feel this. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. Can you at least look at me when I'm talking? This is exactly why nothing ever changes. The connecting version sounds like this. I'm not asking you to fix this right now. I just want to stay in the same room emotionally for a minute. That shift is everything. Not softer because you're weak, not careful because you're walking on eggshells, but grounded because you know safety is what allows truth to breathe. And that's the shift that turns a relationship from a pressure chamber into a place where repair can actually begin. 3. They often pull away right after intimacy. Most couples think distance means something went wrong. But with avoidant patterns, distance often shows up because something went right. This is one of the most painful cycles to live through. You have a deep conversation. They open up. The eye contact lingers. The affection feels real. Maybe they even say something vulnerable they don't usually say. And then, almost on cue, they go quiet. Slower replies, less warmth, a little more withdrawn. And you're left staring at your phone thinking, what the hell just happened? But here's what nobody explains. Intimacy can create a kind of emotional aftershock. For someone avoidant, closeness doesn't just bring comfort. It can bring exposure, dependency, the terrifying feeling of being emotionally visible. And when that happens, their system often moves to re-establish distance so they can feel regulated again. Most couples chase right there. That's the trap. Because the more one person reaches in panic, the more the other feels crowded. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. You were so open with me yesterday, and now you're acting weird. Why do you always ruin it? The connecting version sounds like this. I noticed you got quieter after we got close. I'm not punishing you for that. I just want you to know I felt the shift. That lands differently. Because now they don't just feel accused, they feel accurately read. And when someone who is used to hiding realizes, you saw me pull away and you didn't try to control me, something in them softens. That's when your partner stops feeling like a problem to solve and starts feeling like a person who may finally be safe enough to stay. 4. Consistency is what exposes the pattern. And this is the one most couples never figure out. Grand gestures impress people. Consistency changes them. Most couples think the breakthrough comes from the big conversation, the perfect text, the one night where everything is finally explained in exactly the right way. But avoidant dynamics are rarely transformed by intensity. They are exposed by steadiness. Because when you are consistent, they can't keep blaming chemistry. They can't keep telling themselves you were just a phase. They can't keep hiding behind ambiguity. Your consistency becomes a mirror. And that mirror can be deeply uncomfortable. Because now they have to face the difference between someone who is emotionally available and the patterns they've been living inside for years. This is where the unspoken thought often appears. Why does this person keep showing up without trying to control me? Why do I feel calmer with them and still want to run? Why does this feel real? Most couples confuse consistency with overgiving. It's not the same thing. Consistency is not abandoning yourself to prove your love. Consistency is being clear, stable, and emotionally honest over time. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. I've done everything for you. I've been so patient. What more do you want from me? The connecting version sounds like this. I'm not here to convince you to choose me. I'm just going to stay clear about who I am, what I feel, and what kind of connection I'm available for. That kind of presence is rare. Honestly, it's rare because it's mature. And when you live that way, the relationship stops revolving around their confusion and starts revealing what is actually possible between two people. 5. You cannot love them past their defenses. Most couples believe if they just love harder, explain better, and stay patient longer, the avoidant person will finally feel safe enough to open. But the real truth is, love without boundaries often becomes participation in the cycle. This one hurts. Because your heart is good. You see beneath the surface. You see the wounded parts. You see the longing underneath the walls. But here's what changes everything. Not more patience, not better wording, not shrinking yourself into someone easier to keep around. What changes things is a form of love that includes self-respect. Most people in relationships think boundaries create distance, but healthy boundaries are what make real closeness possible, because they stop resentment from building in the dark. They say, I can care about your history without making your defenses my home. That's not cold. That's emotionally available adulthood. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. I know you've been through a lot, so it's okay. I don't need much. I'll wait. The connecting version sounds like this. I care about you deeply, and I also need reciprocity, presence, and honesty. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for a real relationship. That is not a communication hack. That is identity. That is what it looks like when someone has learned to love without leaving themselves behind. And that's the shift that turns longing into dignity. 6. Their mixed signals are often mixed states. This is where it gets really interesting. Most couples think mixed signals mean manipulation. Sometimes they do. But very often, with avoidant attachment, mixed signals are exactly what they look like. Mixed internal states. One part of them wants closeness. Another part of them associates closeness with losing freedom, control, or emotional safety. So they come forward, then retreat. They miss you, then mute the feeling. They reach, then go cold. Not because none of it was real, because all of it was. That's what makes this dynamic so disorienting. You're not imagining the connection. You're not crazy for feeling the warmth. You're also not crazy for feeling the drift. Most couples only react to the behavior, but the deeper truth is that beneath the surface, two opposite experiences are fighting for space in the same person. A part of them is saying, I want to be close to you. Another part is whispering, if I need you, I lose. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. You're hot and cold all the time. I'm done trying to decode you. The connecting version sounds like this. I can feel that part of you wants closeness, and another part gets scared by it. I'm not confused by that, but I do need clarity about what you can actually sustain. That response does two things. It gives compassion, and it tells the truth. And when you do that, they feel something most avoidant people almost never feel in love. Understood, without being excused. That's when the relationship starts moving out of cycles and into something more real. 7. The real question is who you become here. And here's the part that changes your whole life. Most couples keep asking, do they love me? But the better question is, who am I becoming while I wait for their love to stabilize? Because this is where avoidant dynamics can quietly cost you the most. Not just in confusion, in identity. You start overthinking your needs, editing your emotions, accepting crumbs because the intense moments feel so meaningful. You become hyper-attuned to every shift in their tone, every delay, every subtle withdrawal. And little by little, your connection to yourself starts to drift. That's why most couples stay stuck. They focus on decoding the avoidant person instead of noticing what the cycle is doing to their own nervous system. But love is not supposed to make you disappear. It's not supposed to train you out of your own needs. Real connection does not require self-abandonment as the price of admission. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. Maybe if I just ask for less, they'll finally relax and choose me. The connecting version sounds like this. I can have compassion for what shaped you and still be honest about what I need. I do not have to become less to keep this. Read that again. That is power. That is healing. That is what it looks like when you stop auditioning for love and start embodying it. And when you do, something profound happens. Whether they rise to meet you or not, you stop living in emotional limbo. That's the shift that turns a relationship from something you are trying to survive into something that actually feels like a refuge. Close. So this is the real transformation. Not that you become better at managing avoidant people, not that you learn the perfect words to finally get them to stay, but that you become someone who can recognize patterns without getting swallowed by them, offer connection without begging for it, and choose presence without betraying yourself. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation. An invitation to become the kind of partner who brings safety, clarity, and emotional truth into the room. And when you internalize that, you stop reacting from fear and start responding from self-respect. Your partner will feel the difference before you even finish the sentence. Because in the end, the point is not just that they have never met someone like you. It's that you stop forgetting what it means to be someone like you.